Hey everybody, Tom from The Good Dog, and we've got Mr. Ernie here, and in our continuing series, TGD's 2.0 How-To Training series, now we're working on sit. So this will be the first phase, first stage for Ernie for sit, and we're going to be using leash and prong. We might do a video down the line with another dog or two where we, or even puppies, a couple puppies, or even just one, where we do food training and just all food luring. And so you can actually see how we go through that and what that process looks like as far as an initial step if you want to do it. We don't do food luring as far as part of our basic program unless the dog's a puppy. So what we typically do is what we're about to do right now, which if you've been watching the videos, you see that we do leash and prong with soft, low-level prong collar pressure guidance, right? And so that's kind of our concept for forming the behaviors. Now, you can lure a dog into all these behaviors. You can lure them into a sit and down and place and all sorts of things. The problem is that you can oftentimes overly amp the dog up where they lose their concentration, their ability to focus, and you have less control. With a prong collar and a leash, I can really articulate exactly what I want from the dog. I find it tends to be a clearer, simpler communication and an easier way for the dog to move through the program. So, like I've said through a bunch of these different videos, there's a million different ways to do these. And if you prefer to do food first, knock yourself out. If you want to do leash and prong, knock yourself out. If you want to do e-collar and move straight to e-collar, plenty of training programs do that as well. Our program is that with adolescent to adult dogs, we like to do leash and prong to create all the foundational behaviors, get them all in a great space, and then we overlap or overlay e-collar on top of that, which you will see down the line. So that just gives you a little bit of context of how we work and why. It's like, why are they using treats? It's like, there's specific reasons. And especially with a dog that's got, a bite history, I really don't want to do anything that's going to overly amp him up. So maybe when he's in a safer spot and I feel more confident about who he is down the line when we're doing recalls and things like that, which will be, in a few days, maybe I'll be more inclined to use food and more motivation. Right now I'm trying to keep him calm, cool, collected, and safe. So let's check it out. With all that said, come on, bud. Like I said, a million ways to do it. This is just ours. Once again, you'll also hear me add the word. This is our first attempt at sit. So most trainers don't add the word straight away. And everybody's got their own reasons for it. As I've said, and I will continue to say, if I was doing just food luring, I would not add a word to it until I got the behavior that I was looking for, looking rock solid. But because I know I'm going to get the behavior with leash and prong, I can add the word straight away, and it actually expedites the process and helps the dog learn. So let's check it out and see what we get. Okay, so he's just hanging out, nice and relaxed, chilled out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually switch hands, and I'm going to put the leash in my right hand in case I need to put a couple fingers on its rear to help create this kind of motion, right? So I'm going to say the word. Simultaneously, I'm going to start to lift up. I'm not going to pop. I'm not going to do a quick motion up, even something less than a pop, but I'm still not going to move the leash quick. It's going to just be slowly added pressure until the dog goes boom. And then the pressure goes away, mark it with good, and then we'll move from there. And if he needs a couple fingers on the rear, I'm happy to do that. Come on, bud. So I'm just moving him back around. Okay, so sit. Pressure's up. 2 fingers. Sit. Good. So, and he went to who knows, sniff or whatever. So I just used the prong just to correct him for that. But he actually pushed against it a little bit. But I said sit, and what did I get? I got to sit. So if I was doing food luring, who knows what I might get? He might spin in circles or something like that. So what's going to happen is in his mind, he's going to keep hearing this word, and the behavior is going to become more cleanly and cleanly and cleanly articulated. Oh, that's what a sit is. That's what a sit is. It's not like back up and do like kind of a messy thing. It's actually going to be like from messy to messy to messy to messy to clean to clean to clean to clean to very nice and precise like that. So that's why I can add a word straight away. So let's watch the next couple of reps and see how he gets with it and see how the whole thing works. Let's go. Once again, let's go is kind of our loose leash walk. It's not a heel. He doesn't have to be right next to me. I'm going to bring him over here. Sit. Try it again as he's sneezing himself away. Sit. Good. So that was about 70% easier than the first one. So looking great. And if you watch, the pressure with my right hand is going up as I say sit. And I'll even repeat the command if it's taking the dog a longer period of time to actually complete the behavior. Nothing wrong with that. There's only a problem with repeating commands if you're not sharing. In the teaching process, like the teaching process for me, I'm more than happy to be like sit, 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 sit. So he hears the word, hears the word, hears the word, finishes the behavior. No problems with that. The problem comes in what everybody pushes back against in dog training is like saying sit and then not following it up with guidance into the position or a consequence for breaking it. So you don't want to have an empty command where you say sit and then the dog's just like, I don't have to do it. So anyways, the mechanics were right hand leash. I paused him. He's going to lay down and be lazy. No. So I paused him. Right hand leash came up as I said sit simultaneously, and then touched him with a couple fingers and went straight into the sit. I then, as soon as his butt was headed towards the ground, relaxed the tension on the leash, marked it with good. That's the beginning of a sit command. Let's go. Now, I've talked quite a bit, so let's see if we can't just kind of jump into some reps. Sit. Pressure up. Sit. I'm going to move him away from the mat. There you go. Sit. Good. Let's go. And make sure before you ask for the sit, make sure, geez Louise, make sure you come to a complete stop, guys. So I see a lot of folks make this simple mistake. They walk up and they say sit to their dog before they've even stopped. So first, you stop, then ask for the sit. Let's go. Sit. Good. Nice. So that didn't even necessitate two fingers. So that's the third or fourth rep asking for a sit using leash and prong only, verbal marker, adding the command straight away, doing all sorts of things that I shouldn't be doing because they shouldn't be working, yet strangely they are. Let's go. Let's go. Sit. Good. That's a really, really messy sit as far as his back legs, but I'm not going to worry about that. We can clean things up down the road, but we're also not doing competition obedience. So it's like if one leg's splayed out, if he's giving me the behavior and holding it, we're good. And that's probably the fifth rep. Not bad. So I don't think I had to use any secondary hand for any pressure on the rear. So that's pretty great. Let's go. Let's go. Leash pressure. Distracted. Sit. Pressure up. Sit. Good. Good. Let's go. Let's go, bud. Nope. Sit. Good. Nice. He's softening up a lot. We've worked with him now a couple of days, starting to feel better about him, have a good feel for him, feel safer with him. And not like he's like some mad beast, but he does have a bite record, multiple. So it makes sense to be smart. Let's go. I'm going to walk him down here, give him a little bit of like a break out of the just kind of boring cycle we're doing. Maybe I'll do 2 here. Sit. Good. And even that, like, so he's skewed out. A lot of people are going to freak out, but that's a terrible sit. Guys, for one, once again, we're not doing competition obedience. No owner is going to give a crap about that. Two, we can clean it up, and we will clean it up as we go. So don't freak out if the sit doesn't look like an amazing, perfect, magical pop, like boom, straight down. Like, we'll get there. It's okay. Rome wasn't built in a day. Take your time. Ready? Let's go. Let's go. Sit. Good. So he's doing definitely like a splaying out. So I've got a few tricks up my sleeve for sorting that out down the line. One of the things you can do is you can practice sits like as you're walking down the sidewalk against a wall to where they can't do that. There's a lot of different ways to fix that. So we'll get that all squared away. I'll sort it out. But we're just basically looking for the foundation. Remember, this is stage 1. This isn't like perfect sit. This isn't done sit. This is how to teach your dog with leash and prong pressure to sit and get into the very beginning stages of proofing a little bit of him being able to stay in one position while I move around him. Let's go. Sit. Good. Nice and easy. See how light that pressure is, guys? What a lot of folks do when they go to do leash and prong pressure, they're so used to like seeing choke chains, like people you do choke chain training or something like that, which is going to be different than prong training, like very different the way it applies pressure. They get herky-jerky, they get real strong, or the initial motion is strong and then they slow down. But if you notice, I went on like almost like clutching gas, just like slowly like that. And what that does for me is it allows him to stay calm, relaxed, and not get overwhelmed. Conversely, if I was to like pull up too hard, he's going to get freaked out. He's going to get overwhelmed. He's going to get worried, and he's going to give you all sorts of monkey business, as he should, because it means you're doing bad training. So let's try and shoot for a nice, relaxed, nice, slow arc up into the sit with your arm that you're actually doing the pressure with. And it might take some time to get used to just doing this. Right? It's a different kind of thing. And I'm letting the leash slide just to kind of like mimic it. But it might take some time to get used to that, because it's a different thing than popping a leash. And we will do that as I've demonstrated. Once you watch his walk video, you'll see pop corrections for that, which look very different. So I don't use slow, low pressure like that for prong work for the walk. I do something more like this with e-collar, which you'll also see. So you'll get to mix and match and see, and then you have to like do the work of figuring out why the hell is Sean doing different things for different stuff. There's a method to the madness. I've worked through a lot of different things with a lot of different dogs and really tried to be keenly aware and hypersensitive to what works best and what helps facilitate the best motion forward for them. So, itchy nose. Let's do a few more sits. Let's go. And then I'm going to start moving around him. So, pause, sit, pressure up. There's somebody outside. Sit. Good. Now, you go to your reverse L. You move slow. If you're trying to do your initial bit of creating distinctions of like, you stay in one spot while I move around you, last thing you want to do is start moving fast or doing any kind of jagged, quick motions or anything like that. And please, for the love of God, don't put any pressure on the leash that's going to pull him out of the sit, right? You see what I'm doing? There's all this slack right here. That's so I don't miscue him. That's to make sure he's got a fair shot at holding this position while I move around him. Now, if he jumps out of it, all I have to do is apply pressure and pull straight up, and he goes back into it. So if he does jump up, I'll say no, and then I will give him the command SIT again. Nice. That's good. Let's do a couple more of those. Let's go. So you walk up, pause, sit. Good. That easy. Now what I'd love for you guys to see is maybe a few more reps and see if just on the word alone he'll start doing it. We may or may not get there. He may need more reps for it. He's definitely an easily distractible guy, but let's check it out. I'll do another walk around. Nothing fast. Reverse L, upside down L, whatever the hell you want to call it. Nice and loose. Good. Let's go. And if you're really smart, what you'll start to notice with all the different work we're doing is we're teaching impulse control. We're teaching the dog to be calm. We're teaching the dog to look to us for permission. We're teaching the dog to be polite and courteous. All these different behaviors stack up into a dog that's a very different dog. If you just look at it and you're like, so what's sit do? Or what's the, thresholds do? Or what's, like, you're missing the entire point. If you don't see how all of these things stack up to create a dog who's doing all sorts of different things in life in a different way, in a respectful, polite, courteous, non-impulsive fashion, then you're missing the boat. That's why this is valuable, and that's why we're sharing it with all of these different steps and all these different layers so you guys can put all these pieces together and get the same results that we get. Okay, so if I can have you back up, I'm gonna walk up, see what we get. Ready? Let's go. Sit. Pressure up. Sit. Good. So I've got no problem with repeating that command, right? So people, oh my God, you repeated the command. Yeah, I also applied pressure the entire time, and the pressure didn't go away until he sat his butt down. So there's no lack of clarity there. Let's go. Let's go. Sit. Good. Nice. I'm going to ask you to try and stay there because every time you move, he gets distracted when I'm asking him to sit, and I want to see what he does. If you need to zoom in, or if you need to be a little further, that's fine. But I want to see what happens with no motion, no distraction, because he's so easily distracted. Let's go. Come on, bud. Sit. 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 Good. So looking out the window, being distracted. You didn't move, so that's great. We need to pull the blinds. Get him some blinders so he can't see. Let's try it again. Let's go. Come on. I'll stop a little earlier than the than the window. And we pause. Sit. Good. Nope. So that's my fault. Good. So that's my fault. What I meant to say. My fault is because I said good too excitedly and he jumped out. Why did I say good? Because he sat his butt down without me having to use any leash pressure. So it's a great example of how you mess dogs up with praise and I'm glad it happened because a lot of people are like, why don't you give dogs more rewards? Why don't you give them more praise? Why don't you do, like, that's a great example of what happened. I didn't even say it like over the top. I just said good. And he was like, oh my God, it's a party. And he jumped right out. Thing was, he gave me a sit without any leash pressure after 7, 8, 9 reps. Not so bad. So I'm pretty thrilled with that. Let's do a couple more and then we'll wrap. Let's go. But boy, it's such a great example of like a little excitement with the wrong dog, just totally messing him up. Sit. Good. That time I did it right. So, verbal command. So let me walk you through it. I walked up, I stopped, I gave the command sit, I was ready to apply leash pressure. He sat without any leash pressure or any motion from my arm. I marked it with the world's most neutral good and a tiny touch on his head. And that was it. That's awesome stuff to see. So a handful of repetitions and we've already got a guy doing really, really well. So, and then he laid down right now. So I don't know if you want to zoom down. So he laid down right now. A lot of people would be like, oh my God, like we'll tackle that, guys. We'll tackle the distinction between sit and down and hold them more accountable. But we like baby steps. Don't be so like, well, who the hell does he think he is laying down? Like we'll get there. Let's go. So seeing as he's doing so good, I want to do a few more reps and then walk around him a couple times. But I just want you guys to see, for one, it's my own personal kind of like battle to prove to everybody who's like, oh, you shouldn't put a word on it before because it's going to be confusing. Really? Doesn't look so confusing to this dog. So maybe if you're actually ensuring that the dog executes the command, you can put the word on straight away. I don't know, something to think about. Maybe we'll cause a little firestorm, a little debate. Let's go. Walk up. Sit. Good. No leash pressure, no nothing. His sit's even better. Now it's a little bit that way, but it's not flaring out that way. It's just nice repetitions, me tuning into the dog. He doesn't need any more juice. He doesn't need any more amping up. He needs less. He needs, you notice I'm being like kind of quiet, kind of calm. This is a super awesome first sit session with him. So now I'm going to walk around him. He's actually holding it pretty good. Now, if you were to get excited and give him a bunch of affection or give him a bunch of verbal praise, he'd jump right out of that and mess up, then you'd have to correct him. So hopefully that answers the question, how come you're not rewarding him more? Because it would make him screw up. Come on, guys, let's be more nuanced in our training approach with these guys. Let's not just assume everything needs a reward, right? And everything needs a punishment. Like there's a hell of a lot of nuance in there. One more and we'll wrap it up. You ready? Let's go. Let's go. Sit. Sit. Distracted by the truck. Good. Actually a bus. So easily distracted, but he was headed towards the sit. We got to do one more to make it right. Let's go. Come on. You got to show everybody. It's loud in the city, buddy. Need to do is block all the windows and put on some classical music. Sit. Good. And that's probably his best sit so far. So a handful of reps, a very simple protocol, making sure that I manage my body language, my speed, my leash pressure, my verbal markers, my interactions, and I serve the dog. And next thing you know, you've got a dog doing a very nice sit for his first phase. And I can even walk around him. Upside down L. Nope. Sit. It's nice to see. You can see what you do with that. And this is how you work through the program. Easy peasy. Everybody makes this stuff so damn complicated. We're going to move from this. We'll do a few more days of training. We'll do a few more days of training with this. I'm not going to worry about the down. We'll do a few more days of training with the sit, and then we'll check back in with you. You'll have to fill in a little bit of the blanks. I'll try and explain as we go, when we meet up next time, but that will be at the corrective phase where it'll be sit. And if he doesn't comply, then we'll actually add a correction. Then we'll start putting e-collar on top of it, and then you'll get to watch the process bloom into off-leash work. And so this is it. It's not complicated, except it is. And what I mean by that is your nuance and your awareness of the dog and your awareness of yourself and what you share and how you just put all the pieces together is the only really complicated thing. It's easy to make one small mistake, keep walking, ask for a sit before you stopped moving and the dog messes up. Or you do stop at the right time, but you apply too much pressure and the dog freaks out. Or you do all those other things right and you give too much praise and the dog makes a mistake and he has to be corrected, as you saw me do. So anyways, hopefully that's a good first first phase of sit command with leash and prong and with Ernie. And I think you did pretty great. And hopefully that's super helpful for you guys. So stay tuned and we'll see you with the next video.